All right, I'm back up again, and I'm just getting ready. I'm gonna make coffee, and I'll be with you guys while I make coffee. If you guys are people that rewind in the video and then go like 2x forward, throw it in the comments. I'm gonna put the comments only subscribers because it seems like nobody wants to subscribe before they go and spam comment. Throw it in the comments why we shouldn't have mass surveillance, why we shouldn't have these flock cameras everywhere. Put it in the comments. You're gonna see my full, honest opinion about flock and mass surveillance. If you've been watching my channel religiously, you know my opinion on mass surveillance. But I want to see it in the comments. What do you guys think about mass surveillance flock cameras? Should they exist? Should they not exist? Why or why not? Once I got some coffee in my system, I'm going to go on a rant. I'm sick of people getting the wrong idea about this whole situation. So why should we not have flock cameras watching all the roads? Jam it in there. I'll be back in just a minute. Dump that out and give me a fork so I'm not using a weak old fork to stir this coffee. I'm exhausted, but like in a good and bad way. Like, oh. Welcome. Throw it in the comments. If you guys aren't a person that goes backwards, obviously you haven't put any comments. Put in the comments why or why not should we have flock mass surveillance. Throw in them comments down below. I put subscribers to 1 minute only. If I have to leave abruptly, that's because I'm just Dashing. I got my dash on right now too. All right. Got a few minutes. I'm going to give you guys something to refute then. Is your data not already being collected in other ways, such as Amazon Ring, such as random people's cameras? Every business has a camera. They're pointed to the road. How is it a Fourth Amendment violation if you're in public and you're allowed to record in public? And this is a private company, not the government. Answer these questions. Why or why not should flock mass surveillance be a thing? No answers. Everybody's kind of confused about what the law is, because they're saying that, oh, you go live, so it's public and everybody can watch you and take your videos and re-upload them and stuff. True. But that also means that people can record you in public and there's nothing you can do about it as well. Right? So a private company is allowed to install cameras that watch you. Supreme Court is not going to rule against it. Mass surveillance is on its way. Since nobody wants to have any discussion, I might as well lay out the discussion here. So mass surveillance is already there. Stronger mass surveillance is on its way. I was just hearing that they're going to put flock cameras on telephone poles, on traffic signal poles, so that you guys can't knock them down anymore. What's totally terrible about this whole situation is that people are leaving behind poles. When they cut these poles, they're leaving behind metal shanks. They don't even think to maybe put some expanding foam around it or something so nobody falls and impales themselves. That's why I don't stand as a conservative specifically, because the conservatives think, let's go knock down poles and then leave behind metal shanks that people can land on. Duh! That's not very conservative to leave behind safety hazards. So, anyways, because conservatism is supposed to pull down the regulations, pull down the government. We don't need that much government involved with our lives. That's conservative. Well, if you're leaving behind metal poles sticking up out of the ground, you're going to need the government to kind of protect us, don't you think? Considering that you don't want to protect people from landing on top of a metal shank, I guess the government has to do that. That kind of sucks. It's a lot of conservatives that are cutting down these poles. But you're going to leave behind a metal shank for any child to fucking fall on? That's insane. No, you're not doing God's work. And yes, we are going to have mass surveillance whether you like it or not. We have too many kidnappers around. We have too many thieves. We have too many people fucking around, and we need to find out who the fuck's doing it. You shouldn't necessarily agree with that take. But what you should agree with is that there's nothing that we can do. I don't expect people to agree with mass surveillance, But there's nothing you guys are doing. I've told you guys about how many fucking issues so far, and all I get is troll comment after troll comment. Nobody's doing anything. Nobody's doing anything to solve anything. They're just going after each other like a personal vendetta against one person and another. It's gay. Nobody's actually getting anything done and fixing anything. You don't want to offer jobs to people, but you want to, let people starve. Well, that's an issue. The government's going to have to get involved somehow, or private corporations, such as Flock Cameras, such as Elon Musk, such as Jeff Bezos, are going to have to get involved and run the government instead. I've been saying this for a long time. So, by 2027, huge amounts of technology will just drop out of the ground, out of the air, okay? That's what you're going to have. Tons of technology you've never even imagined could exist in 2027 is going to drop out of the air. But at the same time, big companies for this next election are going to rule over us through AI. That's the thing that I've been leaving out. They're going to use AI and they're going to rule over you and me. They already rule over me. There's no escaping it. That's my point. So you might as well embrace it, and you might as well just put the power into the hands of the people that actually will do something, apparently. Because, how many times, how many hours have I spent on these live streams, and all I get is troll comments. And all I get is do-nothings. And many of the do-nothings are very nice, very kind people, very decent people. They're strong supporters, but they're do-nothings. Like, everybody's just a do-nothing. They don't really talk about what's actually going on, probably with their society, with their community around them. That's why we have so many people confused. It's one thing to, hey, yeah, I agree with you. It's another thing to go and pass that on. Well, Flock mass surveillance. Somebody said, brother, what? Flock mass surveillance is coming no matter what. If you can take a picture of someone in public, then someone else can take a picture of someone in public. If you can take a video recording of somebody in public, somebody else can take a video of somebody in public. That's literally what a Flock camera is. It's not the government. Local governments are not federal government. I don't know if you knew that. These are two separate entities. So you have the county level, and then you got federal above that. The federal government isn't allowed to mass surveil you. The local government is. Statehood. So Flock cameras are going to exist. You're not going to be able to stop them. It sucks. It really fucking sucks. But it seems like there's just a bunch of do-nothings and everybody just wants to cut down poles and that's all they're going to do. They're not going to build society. They're just going to laugh at those who don't have as much as them. They're going to call everybody else lazy. Well, I'm going to call them lazy too then. I risk my life. Every single time I go out and work, I risk my life around cars that are going 45 to 60 miles per hour past me. Many of them trying to cause problems, swerving at me, honking their horn, shaking me up while I'm fucking trying to focus on the road. On two wheels, they got four wheels, totally stable in this big box. I want Flock surveillance so that these fuckers stop fucking with me. How's that? You want to keep fucking with me on the road? Well, I'm going to root for mass surveillance. And it's unfortunate. But people could have acted right. Tell me why mass surveillance shouldn't happen. Flock cameras shouldn't happen. Tell me. Like, if you've been a follower of my channel, you've been watching me for a while, you would already know this about me. I think that mass surveillance is already happening everywhere. What's the difference between centralizing it to where everybody can get control of that data? That was my dream. creepy guy and, you know, over here, hacker or something. Right now, he's the only one accessing your data. Right now, he's the only one sitting there spying on you. If you don't have access to that data too, then you don't get to do what they're doing. The hacker has all of the power. That's why flock cameras, first of all, it's legal. Supreme Court is not going to rule against them because it is a private company, just like a banner. They're putting it on the side of the road. You can put a camera on the side of the road. As long as nobody finds it and steals it, you can surveil too. But that's literally what they're doing. It's an organized form of, hey, I'm going to put my phone out here. I'm going to watch you. It's the same fucking thing. Like, use your common sense, guys. Supreme Court is not ruling against it. Likely, they already have cameras watching who's been pulling these polls down. You know, how many fucking years at this point? It's been at least a straight year that I've been talking about the fact that I've been almost run off the road hundreds of times. I've been hit by a car twice. And I don't see anybody yelling and screaming about it besides me. Well, I think if flock cameras are everywhere, people will start realizing and recognizing how much of an issue this is. If you fail, if you lose your car, expect to be run over in the fucking road if you ride a bike. Because nobody's speaking up about it. I don't like the idea of government overreach. I am a Trumper. But this is not government overreach. This is a private company throwing their cameras out just like you would. You could put your phone on a stand somewhere. And as long as it's in public, it's fine. If you need to use the power source and you apply for a permit to use that power source, that's what flock cameras are doing. But they ain't even doing that. They're using their own power. People wanted to sit idly by and let the country fall apart, call people lazy, say that others aren't doing enough. Well, I'm here to tell you all that have been saying this that you aren't doing enough. And in fact, you're causing a problem by just literally going around and calling everybody lazy. Look at how I look right now. I look like a fucking fool by saying that everybody's lazy. They're not doing enough, right? Well, that's how you looked like as a fucking fool when you were saying the same shit. Look at how you look. This is exactly how you look. If you're one of these people that have been calling everybody lazy and not doing anything to actually include them in society. It's going to be your own faults. I've given you guys fair warning. If you can creep into somebody's account and hack into it and grab that data as a private citizen, then a private company can also do the same, and they can also put cameras out on the side of the road. Now, if you go and vandalize it, you have vandalized it. It's illegal. That's insane. I just got an offer to go 8.8 miles for $2.65, which would be 4 miles, which would be 50 cents a mile. I'm not grabbing that. Sorry. A nice try, because it didn't lower my acceptance rate. Yeah, if you guys are new to this, new to this opinion that I have, then you haven't been paying attention. I believe in mass surveillance at this point. Why? Because we're already being watched. We're only being watched by the creeps, though. What I said many years ago, I said this 5, 6, 7, no. 8 years ago when I first made this video, I talked about this. I asked people, I was like, do you believe in mass surveillance? I made a video on this. Do you believe in mass surveillance? People are like, nah. I'm like, why? Well, because people, you know, we don't want the cops just staring at everything that we do. Okay, well, that's what they're going to do anyways. And creeps are also doing it. Organized crime organizations are doing it. Don't you want access to surveillance too? If everybody else is doing it, you should have access to that surveillance too. And that's where Flock comes in. Flock is a private company, yes. But somehow they've allowed access to it by millions. So it's an inevitability. It's going to happen at some point. There's no stopping the coming invasion of mass surveillance. So that's what I'm on here talking about right now, is mass surveillance is already here. It's just happening by organized crime. If you can have access to that surveillance as well, more power to you. That's the way it should be. So if a private company is allowing you access to mass surveillance, that's the way it's supposed to be. The cops can look into telephone poles. They can look into cameras. There's cameras for them to watch. They don't need Flock to watch us. Flock at least gives everybody an access point. I think if the Supreme Court rules on it, what it should do is give everyone access to it. They should make a stipulation to where if you're going to mass record people and run surveillance like that, everyone should have access to it. Everybody. It should be open network. That's the way it should be. So that not just the creeps are able to watch what's going on in the world. Because that's what's going on. You got creeps, you got criminals, and you got cops. All watching you. But you're not watching. You should be allowed to watch too. So that's where the Supreme Court should rule. But they're not going to rule out Flock cameras. Flock cameras are totally legal because guess what? If you can record in public, they can record in public. Especially if they're providing their own power source. I know, it sucks. Everybody's not going to like this. But this is one of my views that people do not like, and it's coming anyways. Regardless if it's through a Flock camera or through your device, your shit's going to get watched. Get mad at me all you want. What the fuck? This person's a traitor, all that. That's why I said I'm not a conservative and I am not a liberal. I support conservatism. I don't support liberalism anymore because liberalism isn't really a thing. It's just a hijacked movement. But if a Flock camera is placed somewhere, it's like placing your phone there on a phone stand. It's the same damn thing. The only thing is they have sophisticated equipment you don't. It's legal. Flock cameras are totally legal. Unfortunately. And unfortunately, we need these cameras. A good example is kidnappings. So you can see if a car has visited the same destination, they're going to the same exact park every single day, but they're never getting out of their vehicle. They're just sitting there watching. You want to know that that person's visited that place. They might be surveilling the kids. You want to know who's been there. And you want to know who potentially stole this kid, stole this woman, stole this dude. You want to know who it is. That's where Flock cameras can actually come in handy. But Flock cameras need to be accessed by the public, by everyone. So it should be an open source rather than a privatized system. That's my argument. Tell me otherwise. Throw it in the comments. I'm not going to block you if you have a conversation with me. But this is what I mean by the do nothings. Nobody wants to have the conversation. Everybody just wants to scoff at it. Oh, I don't like that idea. All right, then shoo along. Go back in your cave because you don't have any conversation. You don't have any actual rebuttal. It's not my fault. If you don't want to be part of the conversation, go run in your fucking cave and you don't have to see a flock camera again. Wear a burqa. Put a burqa on so you're not seen. Do whatever you got to do. But if we don't find a common ground with this, you're just going to get mass surveilled and it's going to be Terminator. It's just that simple, man. Nobody wants to comment why we shouldn't have mass surveillance. We already have mass surveillance. It's called criminal organizations and cops. Two totally separate entities, but still doing the same exact things. Staring at us. Digging into our data. Trading it, in fact. Making money on it. Everything that you do online, all that data is traded upon. That's what you should be screaming at the top of your lungs about, because they're not really selling your data through the flock cameras. They're selling your data from your YouTube presses, your website visits. They're selling that data. As you can see with this channel, it's not a channel to go and make friends, to go get famous. I'm going to say what the fuck's on my mind. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. That's how it is. And that's how it's always going to be. Nobody can buy me with anything. Nobody can pay me to speak differently than what's on my mind. That's how I started talking in this space. From my own perspective. I asked people 8 years ago, what do you think about mass surveillance? 9 out of 10 people said, no, I don't want people watching me at all times of the day. Well, it's already happening. Just happening in a different form. It's through your clicks. Wouldn't you rather have everyone have access to that? That's why if we're going to complain about flock cameras, we should want everyone to have access to those flock cameras. Everyone. Open source. That's what we should be fighting for. Not, let's shut it down, because it's not going to get shut down. It's totally legal for a private company or a private person to go and throw a phone stand up and watch a road. People have cameras on the sides of their houses. You want to complain about something? Amazon Ring. We have these cameras everywhere. They're already everywhere. You might as well have an officialized procedure with this, an officialized product, something that is watching actually everything, not just a little bit, but everything. What we're up against right now is the only people watching you, the only ones staring at you, creeping on you, are creeps, cops, and criminals. That's the only people actually able to watch you right now. I think everyone should be having access to that Skynet, if you want to call it that. Everybody worries about it. They're like, oh no, I don't want somebody watching me. They're already watching you. Just as I'm being watched. I'm being clipped. I'm being harvested. So I think it would be unfair that no one else is clipped, watched, harvested, and just me. If you're out in public, your data is now public. Should they be looking into your phone screen? Should they be looking at your private data and capturing what's inside of your vehicle? Not necessarily, but you're still allowed to do that. Fuck, man. You're allowed, apparently, the law states that you're allowed to peer inside of a cop car and take a picture of it. You're allowed to do that. So if you're allowed to do that, hey, that's what you wanted, right? And that's what they're doing. They're doing the same exact thing that so many people have been fighting for. They're like, yeah, I want to be able to go and look inside of a cop car, take pictures. Well, that's what you wanted. Now they're looking inside your vehicle. Duh. Unintended consequences. You fought for the right to be able to take a picture inside of a cop car because it's legal. Well, now you're like, oh, we don't want flock cameras looking at our stuff. Dude, you can't have it both ways. It doesn't work out like that. That's why the Supreme Court's not going to rule against flock cameras. Because it's not a Fourth Amendment violation if literally that's what you've been fighting for, is to be allowed to take pictures inside of a fucking cop car. That's insane. You're sitting there, oh, we can spy on the cops, but the cops can't spy on us and nobody else can spy on us. Equal application of the law means equal application of the law. If you're a conservative, which I'm not, I'm a non-party affiliate, I support conservatives, but if you're an actual conservative, you would agree with equal application of the law. Therefore, you wouldn't be so against flock cameras. You wouldn't be against these cameras making sure that a kidnapper gets held accountable. Not one more kid will be kidnapped in this nation. That's what I want to see. If you're cutting down these poles, you're likely a kidnapper. That's what I'm looking at you as. And especially if you're leaving the poles behind uncovered, totally exposed for anybody to just land on it and fucking cut themselves. Like, if you're going to be cutting down poles, bro, put something on top of that so a kid doesn't fall and slice their fucking neck open, dude. That's insane. Talk about morality and everything, but you leave behind shivs sticking up out of the ground. What I saw today was absolutely egregious. Okay? We look at James Madison Audits. Beautiful channel. Auditing people. I love his channel. And auditing this, auditing that. But bro, you've been fighting for the ability to take pictures inside of a cop car. And now you're going to be like, oh, we don't want cameras watching out and checking, making sure that people aren't kidnapping. We don't want cameras watching and making sure nobody's going 100 miles per hour down a 25 mile per hour road. Pick one. You can't have it both ways. Common sense, people. Be careful what you wish for. Unintended consequence, unintended side effects are everywhere. I would rather have flock cameras be open source where everybody can get access to that than for just a few creeps, a few cops, a few criminals watching your shit because they got the special software to hack you. Or they got their cameras in a special place in the fucking woods where you don't even know it's there. That's what's going on. You didn't know that? Homeless people live in the woods. You don't think that they're watching you? That they're collecting that data? That they're paying attention to your movements because they don't have anything else better to do? The eyes are already on you. Open source it. You want to fight for something? Fight for open sourced mass surveillance rather than closed source privatized mass surveillance. That's what you need to be fighting for, so that everybody has access to that data. Everybody can watch everyone else. It's not just the rich people that got a Ring camera that can watch. Anybody should be able to watch if we're going to have this technology anywhere. You already got Ring cameras watching people walk by the, and literally identifying the people that are walking by their homes. Go after Amazon Ring before you start going after the flock cameras. Because the flock cameras, they're watching neighborhoods, but they're watching for different things. The Ring cameras are just trying to identify people. That's it. They're trying to identify the people in the neighborhood. Neighborhood watch, basically. And that's okay, as long as everybody gets access to that information, in my opinion. Most of you shouldn't agree. I don't expect most people to agree. But the conservative side of things really needs to understand what equal application of the law truly means. Because if you're going to say, oh, we can go and take pictures of the inside of a cop car, then you should be okay with a camera watching and making sure that you're not going 100 miles per hour in a 25. You should be okay with a camera watching out and making sure that you're not a kidnapper. You should be okay with these things if you're okay with taking pictures of the inside of a cop car. That's insane. I think that should be illegal. You shouldn't be allowed to record inside of a cop car. What the hell kind of shit is that, man? Why would you do that? Why would you fight for that? It's legal. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. But if we're going to go based on, oh, it's legal to use flock cameras. It's legal for that company to use those cameras. And if you've been cutting these things down, first of all, that's vandalism because that's not your property. Second of all, you've been leaving poles sticking up out of the fucking ground for anybody to fall and land on and cut themselves. It's not good. Let's go with equal application of common sense. It didn't even take a law to look at it that way. Like, yeah, it's technically legal to look into a cop car and to take a picture of whatever is inside of that cop car. It's legal to do that, and therefore it is also legal for a flock camera to look inside your vehicle. Because that's not a government entity. That's a privatized corporation. That's one of you and me. Just a regular person that ended up getting a lot of fucking money because the rich people invested towards that company. You can get mad at all the billionaires because they've invested into things that you don't agree with. You can get mad about that. But they're just in everything early. The billionaires got their hands into everything early. And it's better that way. It's the same thing when you look at, let's say, a cryptocurrency. To have a massive whale that actually wants to hold is a good thing. Right? That's what a lot of people think. They don't invest in a coin unless there's a whale involved. So keep getting mad that the world is the way that you wanted it to be. I asked people on this channel 8 years ago. The video is still there. It's private. I asked people 8 years ago, what do you think about mass surveillance? Do you think that it's okay to be watched at all times? And most people said, no, that's not really what I want. And then I'm like, well, what if it's not really that? What if it's everybody can watch? And people started to, it was like the 9 out of 10 said no. It turned into 4 out of 10 said no. It changed. So 40%, less than half, said no if everybody had access to that surveillance. Open source. That was 8 years ago. That's what you chose. That's what you wanted. You already voted for it, technically, with your opinion. Then it's going to be okay for a flock camera to also peer into. Sure. Equal application of the law. It's not the federal government that's doing it, and that's why it's legal. And that's why the Supreme Court is not going to rule against flock. These local governments can, but the federal government, through legislation, the big powers aren't going to rule against it. Because it is not unconstitutional to do that. What we should be fighting for is open source access to these flock cameras. That's what we should be fighting for. So that everybody can get access to it. It's not just the creeps, it's not just the cops, it's not just the criminals looking at this stuff. Everyone should get access to the mass surveillance if it in fact stays as it is. Simple as that. I think that's the compromise that we need to be seeking in order to actually make any quick, real change. Otherwise, this is going to be sitting in the courts for the next 10, 15 years, and you're not going to be able to do anything this entire time. The damage is already going to be done. Things that you're scared about. Oh no, they're going to check if I'm a kidnapper. All the things that you're fucking scared about, it's all going to happen. By the time we even get anything fixed, you might as well fight for the ability to gain access to that surveillance. Open source it. Everybody should be allowed to watch it because it's coming anyways. A flock camera is literally the same as somebody setting up a stand out in the woods watching you as you drive by. It's the same damn thing, and you're allowed to do it. If you're allowed to do it, another private entity can also do it. Should your tax money go towards it? No, it's a private company. That's the thing we should also be fighting for, making sure that they never get funded for it. They got to be footing their own bill. That's why I say I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal. I am a non-party affiliate. I'm right in between. And I don't believe in either of these parties because none of these parties are actually staying consistent with what they believe in. Neither one of them. Both of the parties are basically bullshit at this point. Trump is a non-politician. That's why I support him. Trump is not about politics. He is about America. Getting shit back on track, giving us the power to take charge. Now, if you're not going to rise above flock and make your own company, then oh well, it's out of your hands. In order to beat this, you need to team up with your communities and build. Stop being selfish. Stop sitting in your fucking caves. Help your community. Build it. Stop being a fucking, a millionaire sitting in a cave. This is directed at no one. This is directed at, everyone at once. This goes for poor people. This goes for rich people. Poor people. The government's watching you anyways. They can use these flock cameras, or they can actually use the telephone poles. There's cameras on those telephone poles. There's cameras on the traffic signals. They can look through that shit. They can see what you're doing. They're already surveilling you. There's criminals getting access to that. There's cops getting access to that. There's creeps, hackers getting access to that regularly. What you should be fighting for is the equal access to that technology, not to shut it down, because you're not going to be able to shut it down. And even if you did, it's going to take 15 years for you to actually shut it down, because it is not unconstitutional to go and surveil in public. Public. If you're allowed to take a picture of the inside of a cop car, well, they're allowed to take a picture of inside of your car. If that's what you've been fighting for, we want to be able to take pictures of the inside of a cop's car and compromise their integrity. That's what you fought for. That's what you wanted. All these audit places, they're fucking hypocrites. That's what you fought for, was the ability to go stare into a cop car and take pictures of it. Unintended side effect. Now they're staring into your vehicle. And now you're all mad. I want to get the kidnappers off the streets. I want to get the fentanyl slingers off the fucking streets. That's what I want to see. We're not going to be able to do that unless we identify who the hell's doing it. There's got to be collateral damage. But you have to look at it from a common sense perspective and equal application of the law. If you're allowed to do it, they're allowed to do it too. Especially when it comes to, damn, dude, I see these audit places, these audit dudes taking videos and taking pictures of inside of cop cars. That's the nastiest thing that I have seen an auditor do. That's what you begged for. That's what you demanded. Was the ability to go and spy within a law enforcement vehicle. To go and expose what a law enforcement has, what a law enforcement person, official has in their vehicle. That's what you fought for. You made the bed, lay in it. The fact that you're fighting against this so hard and not looking at it from a common sense perspective, open source that information, open source that technology, means that you're a fucking cave dweller and you don't understand things. You're not an innovator. Go sit in your fucking cave. Go be selfish. Quit yapping. And no, you're not going to shut my voice down. Nobody can buy me out. You can offer me $1 million to shut my mouth, and I wouldn't take it. Because I like my freedom of speech here in America. A flock camera is literally the same as somebody putting a deer stand up and taking video of everything below it. If you're allowed to do it, a private entity besides you is allowed to do it. Not the government, a private entity. Is the government allowed to access that? Sure. Open source it so we can get access to that too. So we can see what's really going on in our community. When I hear about a kid getting kidnapped, it blows my damn mind. It's like they know so much about us. They have so much information on us, but they can't catch kidnappers. We have like 300-something thousand missing kids. Like, I don't know if it's every year or just in general, but I know that there's that many immigrant children that are missing. We want to find them. We want to bring them back to their family, or at least bring them to safety. You're going to have to do that with mass surveillance. There's no other way. We could stomp out a lot of crime. If somebody's going 100 miles per hour in a 25, I want to know about it, and I want that person arrested. That's insane. You're endangering lives. Like I said, this channel wasn't to get famous. This channel was to get a message out, to bring people back to common sense. If your literal fight was freedom means that we can take pictures of inside of cop cars, well, that's what they're doing to you. Equal application of the law. Stop bitching about flock cameras. And if you're going to cut down a pole, put some expanding foam or something. Protect somebody from falling on top of it and getting cut. File down the edges or something. Make sure it's rounded instead of a literal shank sticking out of the ground. I'm going to end the stream because I got to go. and I'm going to be working like a few minutes, hopefully. I just got an order for like $2.65 to go technically 5 miles or 4 miles from the store. 8.8 miles total. So I don't know. It was another 50-cent order. That was just not worth it. But yeah, I gotta go. Enjoy. I hope this opens people's brains up a little bit. Equal application of the law. If you're allowed to take a picture inside of a cop car, they're allowed to take a picture inside of your car. You asked for this. This is what you wanted. Later.